Alright, hello everyone. I've been messing with my audio and visual. They seem to be out of sync, and they probably still slightly are. It shouldn't matter too much for this video because we're going over things I say in the practice to you that maybe you don't understand. People think that I need to shorten my thoughts, and I do have shortened thoughts, but the problem is some people don't have a foundation to understand them. So we're going to be going through a compilation of my rules for a healthier life and things I might say to you that you don't quite understand. So understanding this, getting on the same page with me will definitely help you in the future, because I want to be there for you, but I don't have a lot of time to explain and get into depth of this. So if I've directed you to this video, sit through the whole thing, pay attention, and read along with me here. So rule number one is what I always talk about people is posture. Hippocrates said that look well to the spine for the center of all disease, and you're like, I'm going to the chiropractor. Yeah, but you gotta maintain your core and strengthen your spine, because if you have bad posture, it's going to get stuck that way. It's going to create imbalance in the muscles, it's going to create imbalance in the joint tissue, and it's going to get stuck that way, and that's pressure on your nervous system. You gotta approach posture just as you would approach chiropractic. If you're coming to a chiropractor for maintenance, you definitely need to be hitting posture as well. Posture is actually the step before chiropractic. It's more important. And whatever you do, massage or whatever, posture, that's the best prevention. So posture is the foundation of the structure of health. So there are pillars in the structure of health, which is diet and exercise. But if we don't have the foundation of a stable spine, everything falls apart. So that's your posture, that's your corrective exercises. Everything relies upon your spinal column and your spinal cord working at 100%. So good posture relies on core muscle activation. I call these your frag muscles. So it's tightening of the abdominals. This is not holding your breath. It's not sucking in your gut. It's lightly contracting your abdominals, your gluteals, which are your butt muscles. Your rhomboids are the ones that pinch your shoulders in. Now, a lot of people tend to lead with their shoulders and they arch their back, and that's improper as well. And I'll put up a little video for that. And the neck flexors. All right, so just some quick corrections on some posture exercises. And these are important, especially when you're standing. You want to try to raise the chest, lengthen, and you can see how the curve increases a little bit in the lower back. So I want to tuck that in just a hair, but first you got to lengthen. That's the first step there. Back up a hair just so you can see the core is in tight, and I'm tucking as best as I can, trying to keep my chest up. So this is a contraction of our abdominals, our glutes, what we call our rhomboid muscles, that pinch. And then I'm also using the scalenes, the neck flexor muscles, to try to drive that head back. A lot of people, you'll see they'll be leaning back a little bit, too much like that, and that's creating too much curve there. So that's why I got to really get that core right first. Now you'll see bringing the arms up will often bring that curvature there, which you want to avoid. You want to try to squeeze those rhomboids and those neck flexors, but you also want to get that core tight, really tuck that butt underneath you. You'll feel that stretch so much more, and it's going to be a major difference. And then when you're doing that, you'll be stretching those muscles, really contracting the gluteals, forcing that core in and the spine in a lengthened position. And everything else in the video was good there. Same thing when you're going down, you want to try not to be here. Try to get that core tight and the glute tight, so you're reducing that lumbar curve. And then going down the same way, slow, don't let that curve increase. And then you'll get a much better stretch, and you'll feel the stretch earlier than you would if you're, got that lumbar curve there. So you want to try to reduce that as best you can. And that goes for the lat stretch too, which the video showed. You can't see it from this direction, but those hips will drop. But what you want is not the hip to rotate the anterior. You want to try to keep it in the center, but you do want the hip to drop on that side. So that's different. That's a lateral tilt and not an anterior rotation. So you're keeping your core tight, glute tight a lot, trying to keep that hip down, core tight, glute tight, arm up. So it looks like this from the side. I'm holding that there instead of this, because this you're not getting the good stretch and you're allowing that low joint to jam in. So you gotta tuck that butt, hold that, and then squeeze, and that'll get the lat a lot more. You'll feel it so much better. So when I do this, I don't feel anything. When I tighten, that's when I feel it there. Otherwise, everything else was good. Even when you're doing these, watch that low back, tuck in. See the difference there? Lengthening. There we go. And other people have different issues, but a lot of people do have this going on, that, oh look, but too much curve. And when they go back, they tend to do this. And they actually jut their head forward. So yeah, you're pulling the shoulders back, but you're not doing any of the other muscles. You're not doing the neck flexors, you're not getting the abs, you're not getting the glutes. So it's a combination of those four, which I refer to as the frag muscles. So abs, glutes, neck flexors, rhomboids. So you're not throwing the shoulders, you're not arching, you're not getting that belly out. You want to get that stomach in there. So to keep the spine erect and lengthened, they're opening up the joints. So not only will you have the joints have smooth movement, which is going to make injury less common, and it's also going to prevent arthritis. And we also don't want any nerve pressure. We don't want the nerve roots compressed, because over time, these bad postures will lead to compression of the nerves. The muscles in the joints are going to create arthritis and imbalance, and they're going to contort and could twist, do everything possible to prevent nerve pressure, but eventually the structure just falls apart. Your body's intelligent, but it needs help. It needs you to work with it, not against it. So nerve pressure isn't always from impingement, bone on the nerve, but it's contact with tissue or bones, but it can be from tension. If you're really hunchbacked, that's a lot of stress on your spine, stress on your brainstem, and tension on the spinal cord due to improper spinal curves, or from inflammation due to joint irritation. And that joint irritation can be from what we do as chiropractors, which is correct that bone, put it back in place, or it can be just from rounding and improper curves, improper posture when you're sitting or standing or working or lifting. So you cannot exercise without proper spinal stabilization. People start hearing me talk, and for some reason they shut me out completely. They think they know what I'm saying. They think, Nate's telling me to go to the gym. I'm going to go to the gym. I haven't been in the gym in a while, so I'm going to run for an hour. No, I should run for 3 hours because I haven't been in the gym in a while, so I'm going to make up for it. So they're taking their horrible posture into the gym, and they're running that horrible posture for an hour or more. That's only going to make you worse. Yeah, you're burning off some calories, but you're putting all this stress on your joints because you're not stabilizing your spine. You're allowing your dominant muscles to be active, which is hurting your joints. It's worsening the curves of your spine. So that's not what I'm telling you to go to the gym. I'm telling you to work on your posture throughout the day. And what is good posture? That's the question. And that's where you need to look at the rest of these videos, because that's what they explain. So one classic sign of improper posture we see is the rounded back, which is your thoracic kyphosis. That's the name for it. So that's the mid-back hump. Rounding of the thoracic spine not only leads to muscular imbalance and degeneration in your joints, but also limits your lung expansions because your chest is dropped, so your lungs can't expand. You tend to breathe from your chest instead of your diaphragm, so it limits your diaphragm's activation, breathing from your belly. So hiatal hernias are common in this type of posture because the stomach is right below the diaphragm, and this is another way that your digestive system is compromised. Because remember, I said the pillars of health depend on posture. So you're like, well, how does diet fit in? Right here. If you can't process your food, if you can't break it down, that's a problem. And there's something else called the sympathetic state, which happens here. There's two different divisions of your autonomic nervous system. Autonomic means automatic, so it's doing it without you having to think about it. This is like your breathing, digestion. You don't have to think. You don't have to sit there and concentrate while you digest things. It just, your body is doing it on its own. So there's two different divisions, what we call parasympathetic and sympathetic. Sympathetic is a state that we can get locked into with the thoracic kyphosis. So each of these regulates different functions, but many find themselves lacking balance, and they're locked in the sympathetic state, which is we call the fight or flight state of mind. Some symptoms of this, because it's stimulating the sympathetic nervous system constantly, is increased heartbeat. You're going to have the rounded posture, compromised immune system function, digestive function, anxiety, and spinal stress. Because the body is hunched up because it's protecting its vital organs. It's rounding in the front, like we're ready to fight a tiger, we call it. You're either fighting the tiger or running from the tiger. So things that don't matter right at that moment, put on the back burner. That's your immune system, you're digesting, and other things. And your heartbeat's increased because you're fighting the tiger. And you're rounded. And that's okay for certain amounts of time. That's a natural reaction. Your body actually goes into that, for those times of stress. But some of us live in stress. So if you're rounded, you can actually simulate that stress. Having bad posture simulates the sympathetic nervous system. So posture is not about looking good, it's about protecting your joints and your nervous system. So many of the following rules will point back to what we talked about. So key number 1 is having good posture, stabilizing your spine, using those muscles we talked about. So rule number 2 is what I call lifercise. And another rule that sometimes you'll hear me say is anything worth doing is worth doing with proper form and posture. Sometimes I'll say quality over quantity. This goes for the gym. We'll talk about this later. So that's right. Treat all that you do as an exercise. Anyone who hits the gym knows proper posture is key. So you got to turn the things you're doing into good activities. So stretch the hamstrings, do some squats while you're gardening. If you're washing dishes, keep your posture good. I'm sitting here doing a video. I'm sitting up as straight as I can, thinking about my core muscles, lengthening my spine. So you gotta do these activities well, not just when you're in the gym. If you do them all day, you're gonna bring balance to yourself. So first you have to have balance before you can hit the gym anyways, otherwise you're gonna do damage to your body. Same muscles we talked about before, abdominals, gluteals, the rhomboids, the neck flexors. If you don't know what these muscles are, you can check out my videos or just Google images online. The reason these 4 are important is because they lengthen your spine. You'll find that you have weaknesses in one of these muscles over the others, for sure. And that's where the different types of posture come in. Bad posture isn't just one form of posture. There's various ones. And then my videos talk about those as well. So check this out. So balancing on one leg activates the cerebellum. So we're still talking about things you do throughout your day. So you want to trigger those neurological signals to fire the muscles in your legs, because as you know, we get older, we lose our balance. So you want to mix and match. Do things you don't normally do. Switch it up. So you want to help prevent conditions such as plantar fasciitis, which comes from putting too much weight in your arches. It's all stress on those joints. Then you get shin splints, and then your calf's tight, so you get tendonitis. So you got to learn to center your weight. Because some people say, oh, I don't have a spine problem, I have a shoulder problem. It all relates to your spine. It's the center. If the spine's not right, the rest of your body's not going to work right. So that was just one example there with standing on one leg, shifting your weight, because some of us do stand on one leg over the other. Or so even when we sit, we'll try to shift to the left and the right. We don't notice. So mix it up. Do a little bob, left and right, as I'm sitting here. Shift my weight. So I tell people right here that it's not the weight, it's how you carry it. It's not what you do, it's how you do it. It's another way to say that. So a good example of that is your purse or your backpack. My mother will always say to you, what's in your purse? What, do you got a brick? You got to lighten that purse up. And I tend to say, keep that purse heavy. It's how you carry it. People will lean away from the weight or they'll lean into the weight. Don't let the weight control you. You control the weight. We call that in the gym the suitcase carry. Suitcase carry right here. So you're keeping your shoulders level and your hips level, and you're walking with a weight that's on one side. Actually works your core harder than it would be if you're carrying that same weight on both sides. And then working the same core muscles. Abs, glutes, rhomboids, neck flexors. And people always say to me, it I just injured myself. Nothing happened. I just woke up out of bed, or I picked up, what does he say? What did I say? He picked up a pencil, and he herniated a disc. So you got to treat light objects with respect. Once you have more balance, that's when you can pick up a pencil without any trouble. It's like when you were younger, you'd go on a roller coaster, you get tousled around. Tousled, is that a word? And you wouldn't hurt afterwards, right? Because you had good spinal stabilization. You had a good balance in your muscles. Now if you go on that, you're all imbalanced, you're humped up, you're curved, and the muscle can't work right to protect your joints. So of course you're going to have damage there. So you got to bring balance to your body. And one of the ways to do that is treating all objects with respect. Picking things up properly, doing things slowly, activating your core throughout the day. The more you do it, the better you'll get at it, and the stronger you'll be, and the more it'll become comfortable and less like a chore you have to do. It just becomes life. Every day is core day. So rule number 3 is de-dominate. Another thing you'll hear me say is variety is the spice of life. So here's an example from my life. I run into trouble even with good form of always bending down in a squat or a lunge, and I couldn't figure out why I developed discomfort in my lower back. I'm a chiropractor, so I do a lot of squatting and lunging, and I'd be very good. I'd have good posture, my abs would be tight, and I'd be telling myself, hit those core muscles. And the answer was simple now that I think about it, is variety is the spice of life. I was strengthening my lower back muscles to the point of hypertonicity, overactivation. Hypertonicity can only occur if the muscles that do the opposite motion is inhibited. Well, what does that mean? So if your lower back is working a lot, it means your abs aren't working as much. So people get stuck on this point because they think that the stronger the muscle, the better, but there has to be balance. So instead of always doing a squat, I now mix it up by doing a forward bend, still keeping my abdominals and gluteals tight, because that's almost like doing a forward bend is almost like doing what? A sit-up. So therefore, I'm stretching out the tight and lower back paraspinal musculature while strengthening my abs more. So that's bringing more balance because I'm mixing it up. It's not that the squat is bad. It's just you do squats all the time, you run into trouble. Another example, and chiropractors are very guilty of saying never cross your legs. Well, I'm here to tell you that crossing your legs can possibly correct a couple issues. In my case, I would always cross my legs, figure 4, man style, and I found it a great stretch to cross one knee over the other, which is more like the girly style, and my outer thigh would be so tight, because when we sit in cars, as guys, we always got like the wide legs, and the girls are very prim and proper, the knees are together, but that develops issues. So I'm not telling girls to go, you don't have to do this, but you can do it as a stretch. No one has to see you, in privacy of your own home. Mix it up. So it's always, and it might be just one leg. It could be both. For me, it was both. Pretty tight on my outer thigh, so crossing like a girl, then sitting up straight. Really stretch that outer thigh and that muscle in your sciatic area, what we call the piriformis muscle, which has a tendency to clamp on that sciatic nerve. So if you have sciatic trouble, or even if you don't, you want to keep that one loose. So just mix it up. You'll always want to do, you'll notice when you sit, your knee will automatically want to do one thing. Don't let it do that. Do the opposite. That's the key here. So I had a lot of hip pain, knee pain, ankle pain removed just by crossing my legs. Interesting, right? So many always cross the same leg over the other. So it's the initial correction is doing the reverse. Obviously, you can unpattern yourself and then repattern in another direction. So you got to be careful of that. So always doing the opposite is good until you're back to neutral. So you don't want to go into, all right, I always cross my left over my right. So now I'm going to only cross my right or my left for the rest of my life. No, because then you'll switch everything. And some people, they're so messed up that switching is not even a thing. So yeah, some of you can think that if you want. It's going to take the rest of your life to reform your muscles. So yeah, you can keep crossing it right over your left if that's really hard for you. And you'll notice when it's more equal. Then you cross one, you cross the other one, you're like, yep, that's pretty equal, that's good. And then at that point, just switch it up, do a little something different. Keep it mixed up once you get to neutral. So in time, not only will the muscles suffer, but the joints on either end as well. And in further time, your entire body. So we call this the domino effect. Like how can crossing one leg mess up your spine? But if one joint's out of place, the rest of them have to compensate, because the body is always seeking homeostasis, which is the balance. It's like if your ankle's limited in range of motion, your knee becomes hypermobile, there's too much movement, and so on and so forth. De-domination, switching up your hands that you use. Using the mouse hand always on the right, switch it up to the left, washing dishes, switch that up. And it's not just your hands, it's how you hold your head, twist your torso, your legs. In the car, I'll do different things. My legs are always at the sides, so I'll do some, I'll bring my knees into the middle, switch it up, try some different positions. Brushing your teeth. Some of this stuff is a little difficult, but like good examples are like golfing. You always do one thing one-sided, or bowling or tennis. It's not that you have to do that activity left-handed, but it's good to throw a few in there while you're practicing or warming up, just to reverse that posture. You don't even have to have the golf club in your hands. You could just run through the motion just to bring some balance there and reverse that tightening you're going to be creating at domination. Number 4 is don't diet. So everyone knows eating right is important. We have resilient bodies, but they can only take in so much garbage. So you need to make a lifetime commitment to change and allow cheat days, not cheat months, but find the food style that's right for you. So you should contact a dietitian and figure out what's best for you and stick with it. We know what those bad foods are. We just need to stay away from them. So sometimes you just, I'm just going to stop eating. But you have to create rules, and you have to follow them. Obviously, you're going to go out and have a good meal every once in a while. That's okay. Get the burger, get the fries. But average, you don't want to even bring that garbage into your house. Because dieting is always this pot, this circle. You get yourself clean, and it's like being an alcoholic. Just lose the alcohol. Not messing around. Fasting is a big part of this too. Every once in a while, you need like a fast day to clear the junk out, and then rebuild your diet from the ground up. And we get into fasting here. So number 5, take a break. So giving yourself breaks throughout your day is very important. If you've been sitting for half an hour, that means you need at least 30 seconds of on your feet time. Do some stretches, reverse the bad posture you had while you were sitting. If you're working in the garden, same thing. Get up and stretch those shoulders. Do something different. This goes back into the variety is the spice of life. And I mentioned fasting before. So fasting ties into the previous rule a lot. That was don't diet. So many people I know keep a strict diet. They take all these vitamins, supplements, and probiotics, but they still suffer from digestive issues. Like we said in rule number 1, the spine could be at the center of digestive disease. So that's our posture and spinal stabilization, going to the chiropractor. Or it could be it just needs to take a break. So it takes about 3 days for everything to clear out. It's a long time, right? Just to clear out your digestive tract, get the intestines, all that junk out there. So it tells you how much stuff you got in there at one time. So it definitely can get clogged up, backed up. Lifetime of constantly digesting. It gets a little tiring on your system. So our gut needs a break once in a while to heal and rebuild what we call the mucosal layer. So that kind of prevents the bacteria and your flora in your intestines from seeping out. So one of the big things is gluten intolerance to stay. Gluten's like the evil demons, right? Gluten's bad. So with gluten, it's a protein that will get lodged in the muscular layer. So you're like, how does it get out of the mucosal layer? Because it's worn down. So this gluten is just a protein, and it gets lodged in the mucosal layer, in the muscular layer. And your immune system, anything outside, that's a foreign invader, so it's outside the intestines. That's now the immune system's domain. It doesn't mess with stuff like the flora and that balance inside the intestine. But if it's outside, it's like, hey, foreign invader. That's like when people get shot. They get shot in like the intestine, all that bacteria is going to come out. You're going to get sepsis, and they're likely going to die if that isn't dealt with quickly, because that's not meant to mix. So that's where that swelling comes from. Is it's autoimmune. Your body is attacking that protein to eliminate it, because it shouldn't be there. It thinks it's like a virus or something. It's doing its job, and we blame the gluten. And I usually say this to people, which usually I don't really get into this topic, because usually the foods that have gluten are probably foods we should be staying away from anyways, because they're highly processed, like the white breads and such. But there are products with gluten in it that are okay for us, and some people are they might be allergic to gluten, but I think it's rare. It's usually developed, and it's developed because of what we call leaky gut syndrome. That's when that mucosal layer is damaged. It's worn down due to putrefaction and imbalanced flora from improper eating. And the big problem is people are like, well, I'm gluten intolerant, so I'm going to have alternative snacks. Like they're eating gluten-free Oreos. It's like, no, it's still garbage, okay? It's probably genetically modified corn with sugar on it, okay? So that's not the direction you want to go with. And there are good gluten-free options. It's called a salad. So an intestinal flora needs a proper balance, and sometimes the best way to clean out all the junk first is like constantly lighting. Fasting is to clear all the junk. Sorry. So it's kind of like constantly lighting candles or spraying Febreze on a filthy couch. First, you got to clean the couch, and then you got to add in the proper diet. So it's like if your gut is so backed up and so messed up, and the balance is so bad, like, oh, I'm going to take all these probiotics and vitamins, but I can't do anything with it. It's like spraying Febreze on that dirty couch. You got to clean the couch first, actually get the grime out of there. So that's what fasting is all about. And then introducing good foods. Build it like the structure of health. Build it from the ground up. I've pretty much just said this. A lot of people think they have gluten intolerance. They're not really born with it. Some are. I'm not saying that's for everyone. Leaky gut syndrome. Okay, yeah. So we said all that. So I often will do small fasts, skip a meal or two. Some people eat just one meal a day. They'll eat within a certain amount of time. They say, I'm only going to eat for 4 hours a day. So they'll sneak like 2 little meals in there, and that gives your body, the idea behind that is it gives your body a lot of time to digest and clear itself out. Some people do well with constantly eating. I'm not going to jump on that one, because Weight Watchers, that's how that works. But for me, it's like I want to eat when I want to eat, until I'm satisfied. So if I wait until for one meal, then I don't really have to count my calories, because I'm not good at counting. Everyone's body's different, so you got to find what works for you. But you'll find after fasting that you have a lot more energy and you feel a lot better, and you realize that you don't need to be eating these 3 meals that they describe for you, in the food pyramid. You already know the food pyramid's bogus, so maybe the 3-meal plan is bogus as well. If you think back to ancient man, they weren't having 3 squares a day. They'd have one big catch, and they'd eat that, and they'd go out maybe for a day or 2 or 3 and hunt, and then they eat again, and that's just how it worked. And our bodies got used to certain things. Some of us are more meat eaters than others. That's true. So it's in your genes as well. Number 6, practice reckless optimism. Like we said before, sympathetic states. Stress kills. So going back to the posture too, if you're more upright and you're got a good upright, erect posture, it's gonna affect your brain and how you perceive life too. If you're hunched up all the time, you're gonna start feeling hunched up. Probably because it does hurt, but it's a mental thing as well. So your brain, your mind, and your brain control your body, and your moods actually set your body in certain states. So constant stress can lead to constant sympathetic state, which we just talked about. Your flight or your fight, fright or your flight. Fighting the tiger in the concrete jungle. So this causes your body to focus on its primal needs and neglect other areas, like was said before, digestion, immune system put on the back burner. And this is where sometimes cancer can start to rear its head, or other diseases. So in our society, we tend to keep ourselves in an overstimulated sympathetic state, and the stress leads to toxin buildup. So another good thing about fasting is allows your body to release those stored up toxins. So does exercise too, get rid of those toxins. Because they can build up, and that's where you get your cancer, is that toxin stuff. So sometimes it's good to have a fever because your body's systemically getting rid of a lot of junk. So never kill a fever. Don't just try, if you can, avoid taking medication to cut your fever down. Let it burn. Body knows the best. Even the cancer is there's a case to say that cancer is a self-defense mechanism. Oh, I wrote that. So that's why we can't cure it with medicine. You can only reverse it. You can prevent it, and you can reverse it. Those are the best ways. You can try to cut it out. You can try to bring the body near death with chemo and radiation. But obviously the toxins are still there. I think the bodies get better despite of chemo and radiation, because usually people are making the right choices in their diet as well, and that's why I think we see success with cancer. I don't think it's the chemo and the radiation. That's just bringing the body near death. The body's trying to sequester those toxins. That's why it creates tumors a lot of the times, is to cut those things off. Enough on that cancer topic. That's a downer. So you got to practice reckless optimism and perceive that you will never get cancer. Maybe happiness will keep it away, along with posture and everything else. And love, give, sacrifice, and all that good stuff. It's a perfect way to get rid of stress and help others through stressful times, because what goes around comes around. So if you feel good in your heart, and your body is going to feel better because stress will go down. Also, love is hard work. It will keep you moving and keep you off the depression couch, stuffing your face with chocolate. We've all been there. I've been there. You got to get out there and love. And it keeps you active, keeps your mind focused. Focusing on everything that's wrong with the world, it's not going to get you anywhere. People always argue with me on rule number 8, which is you're number 1. So this is not the opposite of the previous rule. It's the most important part. You can't take care of others if you can't take care of yourself. If you're not taking care of your body, if you're not having a good diet, you're not eating the right foods, you're not going to the gym, keeping your body healthy, you're gonna wear out. And then you're going to be a drain on others, because they're going to have to take care of you. If you can't be there for your kids if you're in a wheelchair, you can take care of your body. So if you're not healthy, not taking the right steps to ensure you stay healthy, that way you can find yourself in a place where you need help, and those that needed you will be left to take care of themselves. I know this isn't the greatest grammar ever here, but you get the idea. So think ahead and help those you love to understand the importance of taking care of number 1 as well. So teach those little kids to stand up straight. Tell them why they should stand up straight. Maybe show them this video. No one's too young for this. They need to realize that posture is important. Taking care of your spine is important, because it's gonna teach you how you should feel. A lot of people are looking at their phones today, all hunched up. I see these necks. It's not just about looking silly with a hunched up back. It's affecting your nervous system. It's affecting your hormones. It's affecting your nervous system. Number 9, actual exercise. There we go. Now, as mentioned in Rule 1, exercise without proper form, posture, and spinal stabilization will likely hurt you right off the bat. So we're talking about macro trauma here, getting hit with the baseball bat. Or cumulative over time, which is like you got improper form and you're kind of rounded while you're doing your bicep curls. So yeah, you're hitting your biceps while you're hitting your pecs, and you're looking from left to right, like, yeah, look at that right bicep, look at that left bicep. But you're hunched up. Keep your head up, because then you're not going to work your back as well, because your back's not working to stabilize, and it's going to round you up. It's going to lead to damage over time. That's when you're like, I don't know, I didn't do anything, I just woke up and both my arms are numb. Well, that's because those shoulders have been slowly going forward and dragging the head with it forward and forward day after day. You didn't feel anything until, all right? So don't let it get there, because that's when it's hard to fix. Just fix it right now. So a good example for this is the squat. I use the bicep curl. So proper squats require gluteal and abdominal bracing. Oh, that sounds familiar. In order to protect the spine and your knees. So you may not injure yourself right away, but given years, the knees can be worn out, the cartilage, can get worn out on one side, or the discs in your lumbar spine can be damaged beyond recovery. And that's even without added weight. So you're doing your squats, maybe your toes go up, imbalanced muscle, or your heels raise up. Those are little signs I'll use when I look at people when they're working out to help them, because I know you're not using your glutes, I know you're not using your abs, and people are hunched up when they're doing them. They got the rounded back, or their knees go past their toes, little things like that. And there's lots of videos on YouTube you can check out. I think I even have a few on squats to make sure you're doing your squats correctly. So although life resizing is good and will keep you fit, you need at least 2 sessions a week of actual exercise or more. Two sessions is like the bare minimum. And some of us have the more high physical activity jobs, and if you're able to mix and match, work your whole body out in your job, that's fine. You might not need an actual exercise session, but sometimes you need a session to balance yourself out. If you're doing a certain thing at work, you're working certain muscles then, right? So you need to work the opposites. Like if you're always lifting a lot of chest and bicep, you're going to need a lot of tricep and mid-back, which are the rhomboids. The mid-back rhomboids squeeze the shoulder blades together in the back. So certain muscles have synergy with other muscles. So your pectorals pull the shoulders forward and down, right? Where the rhomboids will pull them back and down. So they're doing the opposite. So what the pecs do, the rhomboids have to do the opposite of. If the rhomboids are contracting, the pecs have to do the opposite. So they work together. But one can become more dominant and the other one can't work at all. That's what we call inhibited. So a lot of us need to strengthen our rhomboids. And a lot of you are like, I've never heard of rhomboids before in my life. And those are the people that usually need to strengthen them. Don't know the name, then you probably never used them before. So, burning calories. Get the toxins out. Actual exercise. So it's going to take focus off life and gives you a short time of tunnel vision, because your brain needs that. Your body's meant to be tested to keep your joints and bones strong. Plus, sweating cleanses a lot of toxins from the body. So hit the street or stationary bike or whatever it is and push yourself to the max. So you need a little bit of that max, to really burn those toxins that are embedded in there and get some of that sweat out. Another good thing to do is some daily walks. Walking is just, it's I used to make fun of my parents because they walk all the time, but it's the best. It's the best because you have nothing else to do but think about your posture and work on your range of motion. And that can really help balance your muscles out, balance your body out. Sometimes we're walking on a very sloped road. That can throw you off a little bit, so watch that. It's a mix and match there. As we go down one side of the road, then we switch, go down the other. So if you think about it, one leg's always longer than the other. Yeah, that can throw your hips off, which will throw the rest of your body off. So be careful of that. Sometimes I'll move to the middle of the road. That's why you walk. That's why you gotta watch out for cars when you're walking. Number 10, see your chiropractor. There are always the quote-unquote miracle adjustments at the chiropractor where years of symptoms can vanish and spinal curvatures can normalize. These cases are rare for a reason. It means that the distortion of the spine and the muscular system is due to a single misaligned vertebrae that is locked out of place. So the body will twist and contort itself to bring balance to the body. This is called seeking homeostasis. This is usually due to something that's been there from birth or an injury. So that's that macro trauma. And the body just cannot correct it, so it adapts. So let's say a bone in the neck is locked in a misaligned state and the head is tilted because of it. The spinal column will curve to one side and the hip will raise on the right side, rise, raise on the side the head tilts to. Some call this the vestibular ocular reflex. So dealing with the head is because your body wants to keep your eyes level. But this is an example of homeostasis as well. The body does this ultimately to try and remove stress or pressure from the nervous system. So over time, the muscular system will change to adapt for this posture. If a muscle is in a contracted, shortened state, long term, on only one side of the body, its normal function will be altered and will have a limited stretch compared to the other side. So the joint and ligament tissue will harden to counteract the pull of the muscles. So the muscles are pulling one way, the joints and ligaments have to harden because they're like, no, don't go too much that way. We got to protect the nerves. And it'll try to stabilize the spine. And given time, these tissues are what appear as those spurs, or the little bony hooks on x-rays, on radiographs. So this is your arthritis, and it takes years to develop. So studies have shown that those who frequent their chiropractor at least once every month have improved function and less pain, so you can help prevent arthritis. But remember, you gotta have good posture, you gotta have a stabilized spine. Sometimes the spine is so unstable that adjustments don't even work. And I'll feel it. I'll be feeling the spine, and like this whole area is out of place, and I know if I ran across the room and hit it with everything I got, it wouldn't even move. It's because the muscles are so patterned in a certain way. So you got to have some tone for us chiropractors to work with. Yeah, there's been a lot of people that haven't been able to help. There's nothing there left. There's nothing there to work with. Got to give me some tone, some slight balance, and then we can work on correcting things. So, don't wait. Waiting until your symptoms go from minor to major is a surefire way to end up with a real problem. And I mean by a real problem is something that you feel. It's a real problem to begin with. So don't wait to stretch it out and work issues out or see your chiropractor early on. And don't let little problems become big ones. The longer you wait, the more visit it takes to correct the issue. Here's some rules that we already went over or didn't quite make the big long list. So every day is core day. Let's talk about your posture. Talk about using those core muscles to protect your spine, lengthen your spine, keep it erect. Anything worth doing is worth doing with proper form and posture. Breathing, coughing. Like we said before, from the diaphragm, put a hand on your belly. You inhale. When you inhale, your diaphragm gets pushed down, sits below the lungs. And when you breathe out, it compresses, it rises up. And the diaphragm's not the only thing that works here, but it should be the main one working. The problem is we start using our chest muscles, which are called the accessory breathing muscles. Those are good for the sympathetic state, but not good for every day. When you're in stress mode, when you need them to work, that's when you're short, shallow breathing, which is good when you're getting chased by a guy with a knife. But if you're just at the office or driving in your car, you shouldn't be in stress mode. Breathe from your belly, lengthen your spine, allow your lungs to expand. Hydrate, starts with an H, who knows? Drink some water, that's all that one's saying. It's not what you do, it's how you do it. Jumping from an airplane isn't bad unless you don't have a parachute. Yes. Good analogy. Quality over quantity. Slow and controlled. Form over, like I did 100 push-ups, but how were they? Can you give me 10 solid good push-ups without your hips sagging or your head all bent over? No? 10 is better than 100 if those 100 are sloppy. Then you're creating muscle imbalance, you're putting stress on your joints, you're not going to be able to use your elbows. And I know, I was a big push-up guy. I thought I had good form too. I think part of that goes back to variety is the spice of life. Don't always do the same exercise. Switch it up. Mix and match. Man does not live by push-ups and pull-ups alone. Posture should be controlled, not rigid. It's not about raising your shoulders into your ears and like leaning backwards and throwing your hips forward like everyone tends to do when I tell them to stand up straight. Just assume that you don't know what good posture is and watch the rest of these videos. Okay? Everyone thinks they're standing straight. I used to think I was standing straight. I wasn't. I didn't know what it meant. Didn't know what it meant. Exercise doesn't start when you enter the gym. It starts when you get off your bed. That's your life size. Slow, controlled, keep your core tight. Variety's the spice of life. Mix and match. I was out there shoveling snow just a few minutes ago. I shoveled a few to the right, shoveled a few to the left, kept my core strong, used my legs, got low. Great exercise. I feel good. Number 9. If it's easy, you're not doing it right. What does that mean? It's like when I cross your legs, on the one side, it's easy, it's comfortable. That means you want to do the opposite, right? You want to do the other side. It's not easy. So if you're doing a bicep curl with one arm, you're like, oh wow, that arm's really strong. And you do them with the left, you're like, oh, that's weak. I don't want to do those. It's too weak on that side. No, that's when you stop doing the right, do more on the left. Or one-legged exercise, balancing on one leg is harder than the other. Okay, there's an imbalance there, so you need to focus on that side. And there's various exercises that you can do one side. It all depends on what your problem is with your arm, your leg, or even your core. Your core can be stronger on one side over the other. That's like the suitcase carry exercise. That's good at balancing that out. Or farmer's walk. Pain is not always gain. So you push through muscle pain, like that. Lactic acid burn. That's fine. That's good. We like that pain. Some people don't know. They never worked out before in their life. So it's like, well, what do you feel? They're like, I don't know. It hurts. Joint pain. That's not what you want. The creaking, the snapping. Stop. It might be that you're not stabilizing your core right. Sometimes when I know I'm not using the right muscles, I'll get a popping in my hip or something. So change your form. That might help it. Or if it continues on, maybe you need to stretch some more. Do some shoulder stretches, do some leg stretches, loosen up your hamstrings, whatever it is. Foam roll, that's good. And then try the exercise again, because you don't want that grinding joint pain. Don't push through that type of pain. Muscle pain, if people who work out know exactly what I'm talking about. Some don't though. Some people are like, pain is gain. I see you guys running. Along the side of the road. Some of you look good, some of you are just, I don't even know how you're moving. You're all bent to one side. One shoulder's like 7 inches higher than the other, head's twisted, and you're like gimping along, kind of like doing a half gallop. It's like, you're burning some calories, but you're destroying your joints. How long do you think you'll be able to keep that up? Is that worth it? It's not worth it. Number 11, that's my favorite. Variety is the spice of life. Mix it up. Mix up your routines, how you walk. When I walk, it's hilarious. I walk where there's really not a lot of cars, and I'll go from one side of the road to the other. I'll do what's called the grapevine run, so that's running sideways, forward and back, switch sides. I'll run backwards, I'll get my butt low, I'll run on my toes, I'll run on my heels, I'll walk on my toes, walk on my heels, I'll do little zigzaggedy walks. I do crazy stuff, because I broke my feet, so I gotta work them. Weird, odd ways. So mix it up. All right. Take a glance here, see if I really missed anything, other points I want to make. Any questions? Leave them down below in the comments. I know we kind of breezed through this. If you have any questions, just let me know. Posture. If you took anything home from this video, just posture. Watch the other videos, learn what bad posture is.